The stars had always been quiet in this part of space. The cargo ship Dawn Sparrow moved slowly through the darkness, carrying medicine and food supplies to a small human colony on the edge of known space. Captain sat in her chair on the bridge, watching the stars pass by through the large front window. She was a small woman with short black hair and tired eyes. She had been flying cargo ships for 12 years, and she knew these routes better than anyone. Her co-pilot was sleeping in the back room. He was younger than her, maybe 28 years old, with a kind face and strong hands. He had joined her crew 6 months ago, and she liked him. He worked hard, never complained, and always made good coffee. Everything was peaceful, everything was normal. Then the alarm started screaming. Jumped from her chair and looked at the screens. A massive ship had appeared from nowhere, dropping out of faster-than-light travel right next to them. It was huge, maybe 50 times bigger than the Dawn Sparrow. Its surface was dark purple, almost black, and it looked like it was made from some kind of shell or bone. Strange lights glowed along its sides like the eyes of a deep-sea creature. Shouted, "Get up here now." But before could reach the bridge, the enemy ship fired. Not weapons meant to destroy, weapons meant to stop. Blue lights surrounded the Dawn Sparrow and every system went dead. The lights, the engines, the life support, everything just stopped. Grabbed the emergency radio, but it was dead too. She reached for the emergency beacon. Dead. She tried the backup systems, all dead. The ship was completely powerless. In the darkness, she heard running toward her. Then she heard something else. A loud cutting sound like metal being torn apart. They were cutting through the hull. "What's happening?" appeared in the doorway, his eyes wide with fear. "We're being boarded," she said quietly. "Hide now." "I'm not leaving you." "That's an order." Her voice was hard. "Find a place to hide. Stay quiet, stay alive. If you get a chance to escape, take it, don't wait for me." Wanted to argue, but he saw the look in her eyes. She was not asking, she was commanding. He nodded once, then disappeared into the shadows of the ship. Turned to face the door. She picked up a heavy wrench from the floor. It was not much of a weapon, but it was something. She would not go quietly. The door exploded inward. They were tall, very tall, maybe 7 feet, maybe more. Their bodies looked like insects with hard black shells covering everything. They had 4 arms and 2 legs, and their heads were shaped like triangles with 3 large eyes that glowed a soft orange color. They moved fast, faster than anything that big should move. One of them pointed something at. She tried to swing the wrench, but blue light hit her chest and her whole body went stiff. She fell to the ground, unable to move, unable to speak. She could only watch as the creatures walked past her, searching the ship. They found in the engine room. She heard him shout, then heard the same sound of the stun weapon, then silence. 2 of the creatures grabbed and dragged her through the broken door, into a connecting tube and onto their ship. The inside was strange and wrong. The walls were not flat like human walls. They curved and twisted, covered in some kind of wet-looking material that glowed purple. The air smelled like old metal and something else, something chemical. They dragged her for what felt like forever, through corridors and down ramps, until they reached a room that was clearly meant for one purpose: interrogation. They strapped her to a chair in the center of the room. The straps were too tight, cutting into her wrists and ankles. Machines surrounded her, covered in screens showing images she did not understand. Her body was starting to work again, the stun effect wearing off, but she stayed still. She watched. She waited. A new creature entered the room. This one was different from the soldiers. Its shell was not black but dark red, and it wore something like a robe made of silver fabric. Its 3 eyes studied her with cold intelligence. "I am Commander," it said. The words came from a small device on its chest, translating its clicking language into something could understand. "You are now property of the Empire." Said nothing. "Your species has been expanding into space very quickly," continued. "Too quickly. You take planets. You build stations, you spread like a disease. The Empire has decided that this must stop. You will tell us everything about your military, your weapons, your defenses, the locations of your fleets. Looked at this alien commander, this creature that had attacked her ship, taken her prisoner, and now demanded information that could lead to the deaths of millions of her people. She thought about her mother back on Earth, her brother who worked on a space station near Mars, her friends in the cargo pilot community. She gathered all the saliva in her mouth and spat directly at Commander. The spit hit his silver robe. For a long moment, nobody moved, then made a sound that might have been a laugh, a strange clicking noise that echoed in the room. "I had hoped you would refuse," he said. "This will be more interesting." He gestured to another who had been waiting in the corner. This one was smaller, with blue markings on its shell. It carried a tray with several metal instruments and one large syringe filled with thick green liquid. "This is Specialist," explained. "He is our expert in chemical interrogation. In your language, you might call him a torturer, but that word is too simple for what he does. He is an artist." Approached with the syringe. She tried to pull away, but the straps held her tight. "This compound," said, "has broken every species we have ever encountered. They who feel no physical pain screamed for hours. They who have no fear of death begged us to kill them. Every mind, every body, every spirit we have tested has shattered under its effects. You will tell us everything. It is only a matter of time." Pressed the needle against his arm. "Any last words before we begin?" asked. Looked him directly in his 3 orange eyes. Her voice was steady and cold. "Go to hell." The needle slid into her arm. The green liquid burned as it entered her blood, closed her eyes and prepared for the worst pain of her life. They watched with eager anticipation. They had no idea what was about to happen. Commander had seen many species break under the green compound. He had watched warriors cry. He had watched leaders beg. He had watched the strongest minds in the galaxy turn to dust. It usually started within seconds. The screaming, the thrashing, the desperate promises to tell everything, anything, just make it stop. He waited for the human to scream. 1 minute passed. Sat in her chair, her eyes closed, her face tight with concentration. She was clearly waiting for the pain too. 2 minutes passed, her face slowly relaxed. She opened one eye, then the other. She looked confused. 5 minutes passed. She looked around the room as if searching for something. "Is it supposed to feel like this?" she asked. Did not understand the question. "What do you feel?" Thought about it. "Warm, I guess. A little sick to my stomach, like I ate something bad." She paused. "Actually, it feels like that time I ate old kimchi that my brother left in the fridge too long. Maybe a little worse, but not much." Specialist was staring at his monitoring screens with all 3 eyes wide open. His antennae were shaking. In the language, this was a sign of extreme distress. "Commander," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "the compound has fully entered her blood. It has spread to every part of her body. She should be experiencing pain beyond anything we can imagine." "Then why is she not screaming?" "I do not know." Walked closer to the human. He studied her face carefully. She did not look like she was hiding pain. She did not look like she was being brave. She looked genuinely confused, like a child who had been given medicine that tasted strange. "Give her more," ordered. Prepared another syringe. This time, he filled it with twice as much of the green liquid. He injected it into her other arm. They waited again. His face turned a little red. She started to sweat, but she did not scream, she did not cry, she did not beg. "Okay, this is a bit uncomfortable," she admitted. "Like eating really spicy food too fast. You know that feeling when your mouth is burning and your nose is running? It's like that, but all over my body." She laughed a little. "Honestly, this isn't as bad as the spicy chicken challenge I did with my friend last year. We had to eat a whole plate of the hottest chicken in Seoul. Now that was painful." Had no idea what she was talking about. spicy food, chicken challenges. What kind of insane species was this? Triple the dose, he commanded. Commander, that could kill her. Do it. His hands were shaking as he prepared the third syringe. He had never used this much of the compound on any living creature. It was enough to kill most species 10 times over. He injected it into his neck. For a moment nothing happened, then his body shook, her muscles tightened, her face twisted in what finally looked like discomfort. Felt relief. Finally the compound was working. Then sneezed. Sorry, she said, I don't know why that happened. She sniffed a few times. My nose feels funny, and my skin is kind of tingly. Is there supposed to be more? I mean, you guys are the experts at this, not me. But I have to say, I've had worse reactions to cheap soju on an empty stomach. Turn 2, explain this to me. I cannot explain it, Commander. Was checking his screens over and over as if hopping the numbers would change. Her body is processing the compound. Her liver is breaking it down. Her cells are treating it like ordinary nutrition. This should not be possible. What do you mean, treating it like nutrition? I mean her body thinks this is food, Commander. Her body thinks we are feeding her. Stood very still for a long time. In his 50 years of service to the Empire, he had never experienced anything like this. The green compound was their ultimate weapon of interrogation. It had never failed, not once, not ever. And now, this small human woman was sitting in his interrogation chair, looking mildly uncomfortable, comparing his most powerful torture tool to bad food. Perhaps, said slowly, we should try a different compound. Yes, agreed. Prepare Compound 7. Compound 7 was different from the green liquid. It came from the death bloom flowers of a planet called Prime. When injected into a living being, it attacked the mind instead of the body. It created visions of terror so real, so horrifying, that many victims went completely insane. Some scratched out their own eyes to escape what they were seeing. Others simply stopped breathing as their minds shut down from pure fear. Injected the clear liquid into his arm. They waited. His eyes went wide. She looked around the room at things that were not there. Her breathing became faster. Her hands gripped the arms of the chair. Finally thought, this one is working. Then giggled. Oh wow, she said, her voice dreamy. The walls are moving, that's pretty, and there are colors everywhere, so many colors. She laughed again. This is like that time and I accidentally ate those weird mushrooms on our camping trip. Dad was so angry when he found out. She was hallucinating, but she was not afraid. She was enjoying it. What are you seeing? Asked, unable to stop himself. Butterflies, said happily. Giant butterflies made of fire, and my grandmother is here. She's making soup. I miss her soup. Her eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of pain. They were tears of happiness. She's telling me everything will be okay. She always said that. Looked at. Neither of them knew what to say. The compound that had driven entire species to madness was giving this human a pleasant family reunion. Do you have any water? Asked suddenly. Or milk? Milk would be better. My throat is really dry. Actually, do you have any snacks? I'm getting kind of hungry. The poison or whatever that green stuff was, it's making me hungry for some reason. She smiled at them, a genuine smile, as if they were friends having a casual conversation. I know we're enemies and everything, she continued, but you guys could at least give me something to drink, right? Basic prisoner rights. I think there's a galactic law about that. Maybe. I don't know, I'm just a cargo pilot, not a lawyer. Felt something he had never felt before in his entire military career. He felt afraid. Not of weapons, not of enemy fleets, not of death. He was afraid of this small human woman, who seemed completely immune to everything they could do to her. What kind of monsters lived on that planet called Earth? What had the Empire gotten itself into? 6 hours had passed since the first injected their prisoner with the green compound. In that time, they had tried 12 different chemicals on her, 12 of their most powerful tools of torture, 12 substances that had broken thousands of beings across dozens of species. Was still sitting in her chair, looking bored. Compound 12 was an enzyme that dissolved living tissue slowly. It was supposed to make the victim feel their own body melting from the inside. In most species, it caused such extreme pain that they passed out within minutes. Complained that her skin felt itchy. She asked if they had any lotion. Compound 15 was a nerve toxin that made every touch feel like fire. The gentlest breeze would feel like being burned alive. Victims often begged to be placed in complete darkness and silence just to escape the endless pain. Said it felt like pins and needles, like when her leg fell asleep after sitting too long. She asked if she could stand up and walk around for a bit. Compound 19 was extracted from a creature that lived in the deepest oceans of a water world. It was supposed to make the victim feel like they were drowning forever, always dying but never dead, always struggling for air but never breathing. Held her breath for a moment, then let it out. She said it felt weird but not that bad. She mentioned that her brother used to hold her head underwater when they were children, and this was actually less scary than that. Specialist had stopped recording data. His screens showed numbers that made no sense. His scientific understanding of the universe was crumbling with every failed compound. Commander had sent the soldiers away. He did not want them to see this. He did not want word to spread through the ship that their legendary poisons were failing against a single human female. But it was too late for secrets. The soldiers talked. They always talked. "We have one more option," said quietly. "Compound 23, the Soul Shredder." Turned to look at him. "That is forbidden. It is banned by treaty across 37 systems." "I am aware, Commander, but nothing else is working." The Soul Shredder was not called that name without reason. It attacked everything at once. Body, mind, and something deeper that scientists could not explain. Some species believed it destroyed the soul itself. Others believed it simply made the victim wish they had no soul. Either way, it was considered the ultimate form of chemical torture, so terrible that using it was considered a war crime. Looked at, she was humming a song to herself, something slow and pretty in her own language. Her eyes were half closed. She looked almost peaceful. "Do it," he said. Opened a special container that required 3 different security codes. Inside was a small bottle filled with liquid that seemed to glow faintly in the dark. He drew the liquid into a syringe with hands that shook so badly he almost dropped it. "Human," said, "I am going to give you one last chance. Tell me about your military, your weapons, your fleet locations. If you do not, I will use something that will cause you suffering beyond imagination." Opened her eyes fully. She looked at him with genuine curiosity. "You've been saying that for 6 hours," she said. "At this point, I'm starting to think you're all talk." Nodded at. The specialist injected the glowing liquid into her arm. For the first time, showed a real reaction. Her body went stiff. Her eyes rolled back in her head. Her fingers gripped the chair so hard that her knuckles turned white. A sound came from her throat, not quite a scream, but something close. Leaned forward, his 3 eyes focused on her face. Then's body relaxed completely. Her eyes closed. Her breathing became slow and steady. Her head tilted to one side. She was asleep. Not unconscious, not in a coma, actually sleeping. Her mouth even fell open a little, and after a few minutes she started to snore. Checked his instruments 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. He hit the screens with his hand, thinking they must be broken, but the readings were clear. The human was in a natural sleep state. The Soul Shredder, the most terrible compound in the galaxy, had put her to sleep like a baby. "This is impossible," whispered. "This defies everything we know about chemistry, about biology, about reality itself." Did not respond. He was too busy having what humans would call a mental breakdown. He had spent his entire life serving the Empire. He had believed in the power of chemical interrogation the way others believed in gods. It was the foundation of everything he knew. Every victory, every piece of information extracted, every enemy broken, all of it came from the compounds. And now, this human was sleeping peacefully after receiving enough poison to kill a small city. Slept for 2 hours. When she woke up, she yawned and stretched as much as the straps would allow. "Oh wow," she said, her voice thick with sleep. "I had the weirdest dreams. My ex-boyfriend was there. We were in some kind of purple forest and he was trying to apologize for cheating on me. Even in my dreams, he can't stop being annoying." She blinked a few times, looking around the room. How long was I out? Could not answer. He had not spoken in over an hour. He was sitting in the corner of the room, staring at nothing. Answered instead, 2 hours approximately. "Really? That's a pretty good nap," smiled at him. "Whatever that last stuff was, it knocked me out completely. You should sell that as a sleep aid. You'd make a fortune. I know so many people back home who have trouble sleeping." Did not know how to respond to this. "So," continued, "are we done with the poison thing? Because honestly, I could really use some food. And a bathroom. Do you guys have bathrooms? I assume you do. I mean, you have bodies. Bodies need bathrooms." She paused. "Actually, do you have bodies under those shells? I'm not even sure how your biology works." She was asking them questions. She was making casual conversation. She was treating them like interesting strangers at a party, not like the aliens who had been torturing her for hours. Finally spoke, his voice quiet and broken. "What are you?" Looked at him with something that might have been pity. "I told you already, I'm human. I'm Korean specifically, from a country called South Korea on a planet called Earth." She shrugged. "We're pretty tough, I guess. We have to be. Our planet is kind of crazy." "Crazy how?" "Oh, you know, earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, that kind of thing. Plus we have animals that want to eat us, plants that are poisonous, insects that carry diseases. And the weather changes all the time. Too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. Our bodies learn to handle a lot of stuff just to survive." She smiled again. "My grandmother used to say that Koreans are especially tough because we've survived so much history. Wars, occupations, famine, hard winters. She said suffering made us strong." Was recording everything she said now. His fear was slowly turning into scientific curiosity. "The compounds we use," he said carefully, "are based on chemicals that affect the nervous systems of all known species. Why do they not affect you?" Thought about it. "I'm not a scientist, so I'm just guessing, but maybe we already have similar chemicals in our food. Like that green stuff you gave me first. It felt exactly like eating really spicy peppers. And we eat those all the time. For fun, actually. We have competitions to see who can eat the hottest peppers without crying." "You eat poison for fun." "We don't call it poison. We call it spicy food. It's delicious." Looked at the floor. Neither of them knew it yet, but in another part of the ship, a different human was waking up. And unlike who was patient and calm, this human was very, very angry. Had escaped his cell. And he was coming. The news spread through the crimson blade like fire through dry grass. It started with whispers between soldiers. Then those whispers became conversations. Then those conversations became something close to panic. "The human cannot be broken." She laughed at Compound 7. She fell asleep on the soul shredder. "Commander has lost his mind." In his laboratory, Specialist was doing something he had never done before in his career. He was researching humans, not to find better ways to hurt them, but to understand how they survived. What he discovered would change everything. He started with basic information about their planet, Earth, a small world mostly covered in water. That seemed normal enough at first. Many planets had water. Then he looked closer. The water on Earth was not like water on other worlds. It was mixed with salt and other minerals. It covered more than 70% of the planet's surface. The creatures that lived in it would kill and eat anything they could catch. Giant fish with hundreds of teeth, small creatures with poison strong enough to kill in minutes, things with tentacles that could crush metal. And humans swam in this water for entertainment. Felt his antennae twitch with distress. He read about their atmosphere next. Earth's air contained oxygen, knew about oxygen. It was one of the most dangerous gases in the universe. It caused fire. It caused rust. It caused things to break down and decay. Most species could not survive in an oxygen environment for more than a few minutes. Humans breathed it constantly. They needed it to live. Their entire biology was built around processing a gas that would kill most other creatures. Distress grew stronger. Then he read about their star, their sun. It was a ball of nuclear fire that sent radiation down onto the planet every day. This radiation caused cancer. It caused burns. It caused damage to cells and genetic material. Humans went outside and stood in this radiation on purpose. They called it sunbathing. They did it to change the color of their skin. They thought it made them look healthier. Had to stop reading for a moment. He needed time to process this insanity. But there was more, so much more. Humans consumed a substance called coffee. It was made from beans that contained powerful chemicals that affected the brain and heart. It increased heart rate. It increased blood pressure. It prevented sleep. In most species, it would be classified as a dangerous drug. Humans drank it every morning. Many of them said they could not function without it. Humans also consumed something called alcohol. It was literally poison. It damaged the liver. It killed brain cells. It impaired judgment and coordination. And yet, humans gathered together in special buildings called bars to drink this poison. They celebrated special occasions by drinking more of it. They even created thousands of different varieties of this poison, each with different flavors, and argued about which poison tasted best. Made a note, humans enjoy poisoning themselves socially. He kept reading. Their bodies contained acid, not a little acid, strong acid in their stomachs that could dissolve metal. If this acid escaped their stomachs, it would burn through their other organs. But somehow, they lived with this acid inside them every day of their lives. Their blood contained iron, the same iron used to make weapons and tools. It flowed through their bodies, carrying oxygen to their cells. If they lost too much of this iron blood, they died. But if they had just the right amount, they could survive injuries that would kill most other species. And then found the information about capsaicin. Capsaicin was a chemical produced by certain plants on Earth called peppers. Its purpose was simple. It was a defense mechanism. The plants created capsaicin to stop animals from eating them. When capsaicin touched the mouth or skin, it created an intense burning sensation. Pain. Pure pain designed by nature to say, "Do not eat this." Humans ate these plants anyway. Not just ate them. They bred the plants to produce more capsaicin. They created varieties of peppers that were hundreds of times stronger than the originals. They measured the capsaicin content with something called the scale, and they competed to eat the peppers with the highest scores. Looked at the chemical structure of capsaicin. Then he looked at the chemical structure of the green compound, the first poison they had used on the human female. They were almost identical. The Empire's ultimate torture compound was basically spicy food to humans. Sat very still for a long time. His entire understanding of the universe was falling apart. They had always believed they were the strongest species in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had broken thousands of enemies. They had built an empire on their power and their chemical weapons. And now he was learning that there was a species that had evolved on a death world so dangerous, so insane, that poisons were nothing more than interesting flavors to them. He began writing a report. It would later be called the document, and it would be studied by every species in the known galaxy. But at this moment, he was simply trying to warn his crew. The report began. "We have made a terrible mistake." He listed everything he had learned about humans: their oxygen breathing, their radiation bathing, their poison drinking, their acid-filled bodies, their iron blood, their capsaicin eating. He explained that humans did not come from a safe world. Earth was not a garden planet where life was easy. Earth was a death world where everything was trying to kill everything else all the time. Humans had evolved not just to survive in this environment, but to thrive in it. Their bodies could heal from injuries that would kill soldiers. Their immune systems could fight off diseases that had no cure. Their minds could adapt to stress and trauma and keep functioning. Their endurance allowed them to chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. And most importantly for the current situation, their tolerance for pain was beyond anything they had ever encountered. Sent the report to every screen on the ship. The reactions were immediate. Soldiers who had been confident now became afraid. Officers who had been calm now became nervous. The entire mood of the Crimson Blade changed in minutes. Commander read the report in the interrogation room, where he had been sitting in silence for over an hour. Was still in her chair, quietly singing a song in her language. She seemed almost happy, despite everything. When finished reading, he looked at her differently, not as a prisoner, not as an enemy, but as something much more dangerous, as a predator that he had foolishly tried to cage. "Your species," he said slowly, "is a threat to every civilization in the galaxy." "Stop singing. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? We're not that bad. We mostly just want to trade and explore and meet new people." "You are monsters," says the guy who spent 6 hours poisoning me. Actually laughed. "Look, I don't want to be enemies. You attacked my ship. You captured me and my crew member. You tried to torture me for information. I have every reason to hate you. But honestly, I'm too tired and hungry for hate. Just let me go, give me back my ship, and we can pretend this never happened." Shook his head. "You know too much. You have seen our ship, our technology, our methods. I cannot let you leave." "Your methods?" Raised an eyebrow. "You mean the poisons that didn't work? Yeah, I don't think my government will be too scared of those. No offense." Had no response. She was right. Everything they had relied on was useless against her kind. In the lower levels of the ship, was moving through the shadows. He had escaped his cell by pretending to still be unconscious when a guard came to check on him. When the guard got close enough, had grabbed it through the bars and slammed its head against the metal until it stopped moving. He had taken the guard's weapon. He did not know how to use it perfectly, but he figured out the basics quickly enough. Point and press the button. Simple. Now he was following the trail of guards, moving toward wherever they had taken. He had heard the rumors spreading through the ship. He had seen the fear in the aliens' eyes as they passed him without knowing he was hiding in the darkness. Something had happened. Something had made these confident aliens afraid. He was about to find out what. And when he found surrounded by syringes and torture equipment, he was going to make sure these aliens regretted every decision that had led to this moment. Was not a soldier. He was not a warrior. He was a paramedic who had learned to box for exercise. But he was human. And right now, that was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Kicked open the door to the interrogation room. He came in fast, moving like something wild, the stolen alien weapon in one hand and a piece of broken pipe in the other. His face was covered in purple blood from the guards he had already met along the way. His eyes burned with a fire that came from deep inside his species, from thousands of years of surviving on a planet that wanted them dead. Commander and Specialist turned toward the door. They saw a human male, smaller than them, thinner than them, with no armor and no real training. He should have been nothing. He should have been easy to stop. But they had just spent 6 hours learning that nothing about humans was what it seemed. Shouted from her chair. Her voice was happy, relieved, like she was greeting a friend at a party. "What took you so long?" Looked at her. He saw the straps on her wrists and ankles. He saw the dozens of empty syringes scattered on the floor. He saw the machine still showing readings of all the compounds in her blood. His face went very still, very cold. "What did they do to you?" His voice was quiet, too quiet. "Oh, they tried to poison me, a lot. It was kind of cute, actually. None of it worked," smiled at him. "I'm fine, I promise. A little hungry and really thirsty, but fine." Did not smile back. He turned to look at him. The two officers saw something in his eyes that made their bodies want to run. It was the same look that prey animals saw in predators just before the end. "You tried to torture her," said, still quiet, still cold. "Tried to speak. We were conducting an interrogation according to standard." "Moved." They were fast. They were trained warriors with bodies built for combat. They had reflexes that could track bullets in midair. But was faster. He closed the distance between them in less than a second. The pipe in his hand swung through the air and connected with his head before the specialist could even raise his arms. There was a crack of shell breaking and went down. Reached for his weapon but was already there. He grabbed the commander's arm and twisted it in a direction that arms were not meant to go. More cracking. Screamed in his clicking language and fell to his knees. Called out, "Don't kill them. We might need them to fly this ship." Paused. His breathing was heavy. His whole body was shaking with adrenaline and anger. But he heard her words, and slowly he pulled himself back from the edge. "Fine," he said. He threw to the ground and went to, quickly cutting through the straps with a sharp piece of metal from his broken equipment. "But if any of them touches you again, I won't stop." Stood up slowly. Her legs were weak from sitting for so long. Caught her when she stumbled, holding her steady with gentle hands that had been breaking aliens just moments before. "Thank you," she said quietly. Then louder, "Okay, new plan, we're taking this ship." Looked up at them from the floor, holding his broken arm. "That is impossible. You are two humans. My crew numbers over 300. Looked at him, then she laughed. "I don't think your crew wants to fight us anymore," she said. "Sent his report to everyone on the ship, remember. They know what we are now. They know what we can survive." She walked toward and crouched down to meet his 3 eyes. "How many of them do you think will risk their lives to stop us, after everything they just learned?" Did not answer. He did not need to. They all knew the truth. The walk to the bridge took 20 minutes. They passed dozens of soldiers along the way. Each time, the soldiers saw them coming and simply moved aside. Some pressed themselves against the walls. Others retreated into side rooms and locked the doors behind them. The document had done its work. Every on the ship now knew that humans were from a death world. They knew about the oxygen, the radiation, the acid and the iron and the capsaicin. They knew that the two creatures walking through their corridors were more dangerous than any enemy they had ever faced. Not because of weapons, not because of training, but because evolution had made them survivors in the worst possible way. When it reached the bridge, there were 15 officers waiting for them. All of them were armed. All of them were pointing weapons at the door. Walked in first. She walked calmly, slowly, as if she was strolling through a park on a sunny day. "Hello, everyone," she said cheerfully. "I am captain of the cargo ship Dawn Sparrow. You attacked my ship, kidnapped me and my crew member and tried to torture me with about a dozen different poisons. Normally, this would make me very angry." She paused, looking around at all the weapons pointed at her face. "But I am willing to be reasonable. Here is what is going to happen. You are going to let us take this ship. You are going to give us the location of the nearest human outpost. And you are going to send a message to your empire telling them that attacking humans is a very bad idea." One of the officers, a female with golden markings on her shell, stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Then my friend here is going to do to all of you what he did to the 23 guards between here and the interrogation room. And then I'm going to find your poison storage and eat everything in it while you watch. And then we're going to take this ship anyway." The bridge was very quiet. "Also," added, "is actually the nice one of the two of us. I've been sitting in that chair for 6 hours watching your specialists try to hurt me. I am very, very patient, but even my patience has limits." The golden-marked officer looked at the others. They looked back at her. A silent conversation happened in their clicking language, too fast for the translator to catch. Then, one by one, they lowered their weapons. "We surrender," the officer said. "The ship is yours." Smile became warmer, friendlier. "Thank you, that was the smart choice." She looked at, "Can you tie them up or something? We need to figure out how to fly this thing." It took them 3 days to reach human space. Was good with machines, and he figured out the basic controls quickly. Handled navigation with help from some of the cooperative officers who had decided that helping the humans was better than being hurt by them. When the Crimson Blade appeared on human sensors, it caused immediate panic. A warship in human territory was supposed to be the beginning of a war. Defense fleets scrambled. Weapons systems activated. Emergency signals went out across a dozen systems. Then opened communications. "This is captain of the cargo ship Dawn Sparrow. Actually, I guess I'm captain of the Crimson Blade now. Long story. We were attacked by forces. We survived. Now we are bringing home a captured enemy warship and about 300 prisoners. Please do not shoot us." There was a very long pause. "Then, did you say captured enemy warship?" "Yes." "There are only 2 of you." "Yes, like I said, long story. I'll explain everything when we dock. Can someone please bring us food, real food? We've been eating rations for 3 days and they taste like wet cardboard." The human military spent weeks studying the Crimson Blade. They studied its weapons, its technology, its medical records. They read the document carefully, and they understood something important. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were special. Their planet had made them tough in ways no other species could match. Their bodies could handle things that would kill anyone else. The Empire surrendered within a year. Their entire military strategy had been based on chemical interrogation, and that strategy was now useless. They could not fight a species that was immune to their best weapons. The peace treaty included several important points. No ship would ever attack a human vessel again. No officer would ever attempt chemical interrogation on a human prisoner, and all citizens would be educated about what humans were capable of. Kept the Crimson Blade as payment for damages. She renamed it Grandmother's Revenge, in honor of the woman who had always told her that Koreans were tough. Stayed on as her co-pilot. They never talked about what happened on the ship. They did not need to. They understood each other perfectly. Sometimes, late at night, when the stars were quiet and the ship was peaceful, would think about those 6 hours in the interrogation room. She would remember the look on his face when the poisons did not work. She would remember the fear in his eyes when he realized what humans were. And she would smile. Not because she was proud of what happened, not because she was happy about the violence, but because it proved something that her grandmother had always said. Humans were survivors. They had come from a world that tried to kill them every day, and they had not just survived. They had thrived. They had built cities and ships and civilizations. They had reached for the stars. And now the rest of the galaxy knew it too. Whatever challenges the future held, humans would face them the same way they had always faced everything else. Together, stubbornly, and with enough spicy food to terrify alien empires. The end.